Hi, good morning. Welcome to Coffee Talk. This is our 100th episode, spectacular. So we decided to do live music. Why? Was this Ryan's idea? Yeah, it was definitely Ryan's idea. Will you guys unmute Steven's mic so he can talk?
It was definitely Ryan's idea.
Yeah. Did he spring this on you guys last minute? In typical
Maybe slightly,
Ryan
that's what makes it fun.
I wouldn't do that. I was like, hey, we're going to play music. What are we playing? We'll figure it out when we get there.
That was great. It really gives you a vibe, like the coffee talk or coffee shop kind of vibe, where you listen to kind of like fun music that doesn't have words, so like you could study or have a conversation during it.
Yeah. So I'm going to be interviewing Rita this morning.
Okay.
And we're going to just kind of ask you a few things since you've been doing this for so long.
Yes.
And we have plans for the future. We're really excited, taking some time off. You went through all that, right?
No. Oh, was I supposed to in the intro?
Well, we will be taking the month of October off. So we have next week.
Scheduled out, yes. Next week will be our last for season 1.
Yes.
So we have an episode tomorrow, and then we have 4 next week, and then we will be taking off until November 6th, I believe, which is a Wednesday, is when we would come back.
Yeah. So yeah, good things are coming in the future, but I want to talk to you today because one of the things that, if you don't know Rita, first of all, if you don't know, this is my wife, Rita, the lovely Rita.
Oh, thank you.
And you do an amazing job, obviously. And one of the your favorite things to talk about, which we never really talk about on air, is aliens. So today
we get to do it.
we're gonna do it for number 100. We're gonna talk about it.
Okay.
So where are you at with aliens?
Where I am at, I was really thinking about this morning because sometimes you meet people that are very into aliens, and it makes you not want to have a conversation with them about aliens because you're like, you fully believe it. It's one of those things that just, it's a little bit extreme. So I wouldn't say I'm on that level of like, I believe it. I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet on whether or not like, if you ask me like, do I want there to be aliens? Yes. Do I like the idea of other creatures, other intelligence, other species out there, like other planets, like that? It's more the creativity and imagination in my mind that draws me to love the idea of aliens. Now, if you ask me like, do you 100% believe that they're real? I would say, well, the government just released some videos saying like, yes, these UFO videos are real. Some of them are real, like the Navy pilots flying around. Have you guys seen that? Caleb, you're back here. You usually talk to me about aliens.
Is this mic on? It is on, yes.
Did you see that? It's like a short little clip that CNN, I sent it to Anita.
The CNN one? Yeah. Yeah, it's super weird. It's like, it's from a Navy like pilot or whatever,
they're
and they're flying alongside of what apparently is a UFO, or what do they call them now?
An unidentified aerial
phenomenon.
Yeah, something like that.
UAP or something like that.
Which come on,
weird,
don't change the name. But yeah, it's weird because they're in it and you can hear their voices like, oh, do you see it turning? Like all that stuff.
Yeah, that's what's really weird.
It's exciting to me to know that, well, this actually, they put out that video the day before there was supposed to be an Area 51 raid.
Yeah, that was weird. Why did they put that out the day before the raid?
That video had been out for a while, but they had announced that it was from them that day. So they were confirming that it was released from them and it was their video from the Navy or whatever.
Which that's actually kind of, it's weird that people aren't saying this is huge news. It's kind of just like it was swept under the rug because I think there has been so much false alien information, as in like the government has now confirmed, and it's like it's not true. So when they actually do put something out, it's kind of like nah, and people just move on with it. So for me, I watched that, and it was kind of funny because the theme for Escape the Woods, I don't know, have you announced the theme? Is this giving? Okay, so okay,
Anita's back there. She does the.
I blew up Anita's phone. I did. I felt like she would be the one who needs to know. But the theme for Escape the Woods is aliens. There's an alien hunt. Yes.
Yeah.
So that makes me excited when more and more people talk about it. But really what it is the idea of life outside of this planet that we call home. I don't imagine that it would be this terrifying thing and this like scary, be afraid of aliens because they're smarter than us or whatever. I look at it as more of a almost like a friend in the sky.
So let's say that we made contact tomorrow, they made contact with us.
Oh, that would be so exciting.
Okay, so there's an alien race that comes over the earth and they show themselves and they're like, hey, we're here. We're not here to hurt you. We could hurt you. We've decided not to hurt you. We just want to like catch up. We're just interested in your culture, your religion, your all those things.
Yeah.
And we're looking for 100 people that we think would be interested.
I volunteer as tribute 100% of the time. Yes. That would be so fun. Think about it.
Well, it wouldn't be fun for me because my wife would be
with the aliens.
Gone.
The aliens, yeah.
I always knew you were a star. But yeah, so you would go.
Well, wait, we're leaving the planet? I thought they were
you're
here.
leaving. Nope, you got to go.
Oh.
100%. You can't come back.
Oh, I can't come back now?
But they're going to
Okay.
make you some sort of, we're making this very elaborate.
Okay, let's go. Let's go with it.
They're going to turn you into like a superhuman. So they're going to
Yes.
merge with you and you're going to have like expanded consciousness.
Yes. Yes. Because I would be
They're
able to
going to
communicate
fiddle with
you.
your DNA
Yeah. Please do it.
and you're going to be a super alien human
Yes.
hybrid species.
Yes. I think I was always born to be that.
Wow. I have mixed emotions.
I think it would be
I've never asked you that
so
before,
fun.
so.
I think it would be so fun to encounter an intelligent life that is not another human. Like imagine, I always had dream, like I'm a huge animal lover, and I always imagined one day I would like go out and my dog would just be looking at me and just be like, all right, Rita, it's time. And just like we would have a conversation. I'd be like, I knew it. Like I always knew it. Like watching Toy Story stuff as a kid, I always thought like my stuffed animals and toys and stuff, like they probably do communicate with each other when I'm outside of the room. So I always had that imagination of, now I didn't like fully believe, that's the thing. I like hold this idea as almost this romantic, fun idea. Like, imagine if that were true. That's kind of how I think about it.
Well, you've always had, since I've known you, you've been a very imaginative person.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel like that's stayed the same for the last couple of years, or it's kind of
Yes, because
dwindled off?
even when I'm watching a movie, sometimes I will get taken out of the movie and just go off on my own imagination trail and then kind of laugh at myself and then come back and be like, well, I just missed like 2 minutes of that movie. So
It's fun watching movies with Rita because there's these moments where she pauses it and she's like, okay, so I have this idea. And then
Yes.
it goes on for 5 minutes and we have this whole other idea.
yeah. I'm like, can you imagine if there was a movie? Like, okay,
Go ahead.
the whole thing that you just asked me about going off with the aliens,
Mm-hmm.
that is a book idea that I have where it's like, imagine being a human who, like, can you just imagine for a second, astronauts are the only ones who get to see this, but the planet Earth just going off into a dark abyss and you just knowing that you are so far away from everything that you've ever known, but it not being a scary thing, and knowing that you're going to eventually arrive on another planet somewhere where there is life, but it's just not like the one at home. Like that is so exciting to me.
Yeah.
So the idea of somebody going away from their home and having adventures there and then returning with this new idea that they found in this new civilization, I think it'd be amazing. And then that's what world travel is like. You go to different countries and you learn things that you wouldn't learn or experience in your normal little island.
Let's
that you
just start
call
with
home.
that.
Just travel.
Start with going around here.
Yeah.
Let's see all of Florida.
But there's
All of Sarasota.
There's all kinds of things that I think are really fun to just imagine if they were real. For instance, lizard people. Have you looked into that?
Yes.
I know you have, because we have watched a 3-hour video on that. But
There are
there's-
some dark and dirty trails to go down on
YouTube. Yeah.
with that whole thing.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what's
Very
so fun.
entertaining.
Yeah, that's what's fun about it, is just imagining if it could be real, and then reading comments of people who are like, "This is definitely real. I know a lizard person," and you're like, "Whoa," it's just fun.
Well, what's funny is you don't kind of get into the culture of UFO or aliens or conspiracy.
Like when I heard people were raiding Area 51, I like slapped my face. I'm just like, why would you? That's just, don't do that. And there were 2 million.
I don't think they did, to be fair.
There were 2 million people who were supposed to go out there. Apparently the Facebook little event that this guy created, there were 2 million people saying that they were going to do it. And then that guy decided no. And here's why. The little town that people would be going to see Area 51 only has like, 60 something people that live there. They have like one gas station that's like outside of the town. So they were just like, we don't want to be overwhelmed by all of these people because that's not good. And so I think they counted across multiple locations, only 1,500 people came out, which is fine.
That's okay.
But all of them are dressed as aliens and they just kind of barbecued a little bit. One guy got arrested for peeing on a fence. That was it.
Well, that's not so bad.
Relatively docile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine they're a very aggravating community.
No.
Okay, so let me ask you another question.
Okay.
What do you think about ancient Egypt?
Oh, ancient Egypt. So this is what's fun. This weekend, sneak preview. Kevin O'Hara did the AMA little podcast bit with Pastor Larry, your papa, and they talked about science, which was really interesting. However, I have a cut for time episode that I think I'm going to put out. That's just a little extra bit, and he does address it in there. However, I don't like his answers. Sorry, Kevin. He talks about how weathering is what makes all the like crazy angles and stuff. And I'm like, sure, that may be true, but isn't it so much more fun to listen to people who, say that aliens built it? I'm just kidding. But for real, I think ancient Egypt is one of those things that nobody really quite knows all the answers to it.
Sure.
And people try to find the most realistic answer, which is human beings built it, and there are reasons why it seems like this alien civilization or some really advanced race may have built it. But nobody really knows for sure. So,
well, it's funny because people like to dispute kind of one of those things. They'll take one thing like, oh, the weathering is the thing that filled in the cracks. That's how, that's easy. But there's things like 2,000 small,
what are they
I think
called?
they're sphinx.
A sphinx, like
Sphinx?
a cat person. That's
All
like,
right. That are cut out of like marble or stone.
It's like laser cut and they're identical.
And they're just thousands of them and they're identical.
And they're like lining a road so you can drive down and
there's
see all
things
of
like
them.
that where you go, okay, maybe it wasn't alien, but maybe there was some sort of advanced technology.
I 100% think that human beings who lived during that time were more advanced.
More advanced than we are now?
Yes. I think they had a different kind of technology.
Okay, I was going to say, I think that's a better...
Yeah. So humans like us, we did combustion, right? We used fire. We used the dirty fuel, the stuff that's like killing the planet, like all that stuff. Like it's just dirty and it burns and there's dirty stuff that comes off it. I imagine like it's the dirty energy. So if there is intelligent life, they may be looking, saying like, why are they so dirty? Like that's probably what they would say. So I think way back in the day, kind of when a group of people, when they're trying to find their energy source, right? I think there are multiple types of energy. And I think possibly ancient civilizations discovered some sort of, I don't know exactly what it would be, nuclear something, but I'm sure that they had a different type of energy that then enabled them to build different
You're
things.
sure?
No, I'm not sure of all of this, but I'm sure that they were more advanced than we are right now. They have to be. Look at what they built.
Well, they don't have to be.
Okay. Look at what
we've built, though.
I was going to say.
We have, but what have we built that has withstood this much time and weathering and all of that?
Well, we haven't had that much time.
Yeah.
Although they do say something about New York City, if you were to leave it from, like, you didn't upkeep it at all.
What's that movie with Will Smith? I Am Legend or whatever? Yeah. I Am Legend, where he has the dogs and there's like zombies and stuff living in.
I'm not referring to that specifically. I'm saying that they say something about the whole city would erode within like 300 years or something. Or maybe it's less than that. Chris, correct me.
Yeah, sorry.
Welcome.
The city would just basically be overgrown like in months and years.
Yeah.
And then it would totally crumble within around that time.
So it is interesting. Like let's play this game. Let's go with it for a second.
I like games.
Because I don't buy into the whole, I don't necessarily buy into the whole they had to be more advanced than us thing.
Okay.
But
What do you think?
I think that they very well could have been. I think it's kind of small-minded to say, well, we know for sure what happened in ancient Egypt.
Did he just small-minded? Do you know who Graham Hancock is?
No. I said I was agreeing with you.
Okay.
I said I think it's small-minded to say that we know exactly what happened in ancient Egypt.
Right.
Like in the mainstream. I think that's a little silly. It's
Yeah.
a long time ago.
But what do you think?
I am agnostic when it comes to that. I don't know. I think that one of the weird things about ancient Egypt is the fact that they built something that did last so long. Like the pyramid structure, there's so much about that shape and that size and putting that up. And you have to wonder, if you were going to build something today And you're like, okay, we want to build something that'll last, even if our civilization goes away, even if our cities go away, we have some sort of natural catastrophe, whatever. Like, we want something to last so people will know we were here.
Right.
Pyramid's a great one to do.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's
carving into a rock wall, like
well,
what's
it's
that
the
place
shape,
called?
but it's the shape of the pyramid that allows like the erosion and everything to it'll last a lot longer than other shapes typically will. And so it's weird, and just how they put it where it's facing a certain direction.
Yeah,
and,
as far as like the stars and astronomy and all that, like they had a lot of really precise.
well, that and like the measurement all the way around is the same, or it's a divisible number by whatever the circumference of the earth is. There's just a lot of, now I think a lot of people can start with something and they're looking for something they can make things up for sure. That's a thing. But nonetheless, there's all these really interesting things about the pyramid. So I don't know.
Yeah, I never, this was one of those things that was kind of given to me. I never really had interest in that stuff until listening to Graham Hancock talk about how there's all these ancient locations where there are pyramids. So Egypt isn't the only place that has pyramids that are really, really, really old. In fact, there's places, is it northern, like Europe, somewhere in there, where there's like the oldest one and it's underground. So there's Atlantis is another one of those things that is just like exciting to think about, because if the planet has moved and shifted, so if you imagine the stuff that is land right now, maybe like it swapped. So like some land that used to be up there is now down there. Some land that used to be in the ocean is now up there. Like if there are things like that happen, it's just kind of exciting to imagine the history of people or intelligent life that have lived on this planet, what they've made, what has lasted the test of time, all of that.
Well, I think you're exactly right in like not being so presumptuous that we have the history figured out.
Right.
I think that there's definitely there's a way to look at human history and wonder, how far did humans get? How far did we get at any given time? To assume that we've always been less than where we are now, we never developed past this certain level, I think is a little silly. Because even today, like if everything went down, if we had a electromagnetic pulse that went off from a solar flare or something like that, all of our computers got wiped out, all our cars got wiped out, that would all be lost information. Like most of our books are now electronic. We're not printing as much paper. It's not like paper lasts either. Like how long would it take for there to be very little remnant of what we are or the technology that we had?
Yeah. I mean, our advancement, I think, is on a very it's like a fragile little cocoon that something could take it out, and then how would you rebuild after that? Now, I think what we have,
that's a great question.
As far as like connecting to each other, I think the idea of the internet and anyone who has access to it being able to communicate, or cell phones, things like that, where humans are more connected now, I do think that can be looked at as an advancement, as far as like,
well, sure.
I wonder if ancient peoples had that type of advancement or whatever. But when I look at just the structures, that's to me where I'm like, what I want to actually know how they built the stuff in ancient Egypt, the stuff that has lasted the test of time, which is super weird that we can go on vacation, just like look at that stuff and kind of shrug and move on. It doesn't bring people to their knees as much as it should, I think, to see this structure that's there that we don't know who built it, where it came from, all of that.
Well, I blame pictures for that.
Yeah.
Truly. I mean, think about like where we were before we could look at high resolution images of the pyramids. Like we had to buy encyclopedias and buy magazines and then look at them through that. But even how old is that? 100 years maybe? I don't know.
100 years?
When was the encyclopedia created? I have no idea. Or Time magazine. When did that come about?
Yeah.
Not sure.
National Geographic. I remember those would be really, really cool pictures.
But imagine just going back a little bit before that. You may have heard of the pyramids, or you may have seen a poster with a traveling circus of these, 7 wonders of the world or whatever. But now you can actually just go on and look at 100 different pictures right now.
I mean, you can look at your friend who went there and be like, oh yeah, she saw the pyramids, and just move on with it.
So I think it does kind of take away some of the wonder of if you were to just arrive and you had very little idea of what you were running into, or say you were just wandering through the desert and you saw this thing. What kind of impact would that have? What kind of awe would be?
I mean, I have a feeling that and this is what people say about, as far as like technology, things like that, if you were to drop a piece of our technology into people who lived in like the 1800s or whatever, like before they ever had motorcycles. If you dropped a motorcycle in front of somebody, they may figure out, like, if they touch a lot of things on it over the course of time, they may figure out how to turn the key and turn it on. But they're not going to understand the whole context. They're not going to understand that there are people who live in this time who like the thrill of just riding a motorcycle. And it's not like, oh, that's how they got around. Everyone got around on this open, weird thing with wheels. It's like, no, that was an option at the time. So it's interesting when you look at people who live during a certain time, to look at what was left behind isn't necessarily the whole picture. So you look at what was left behind and just the fact that it withstood weathering, you're like, okay, this is insane. But all of the other stuff that has long since gone away, that maybe there's more puzzle pieces that could have been put together. To me, that's just so interesting. And again, listening to people like Graham Hancock, who is so passionate about this whole thing and just ancient, just like really respect the ancient stuff and don't just chalk it up to like, yeah, they're pyramids, they've been there all along, and just move on. Like the idea of cows getting abducted by aliens, that was one of the, that's honestly, that's what got me started on this whole trail, because it was the thing that people ignore that made me realize, why are we ignoring this? And it just kind of got me excited, because I think people have become immune to the weird, to the things that are extraterrestrial. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think people have, there are certain people who are very, very interested in it because it gives them a feeling of, I know things that nobody else knows. And I think that's the wrong way to look at it. I think the better way is to say, what could there be? And let your imagination go wild on that. And the idea of the cow abduction thing, so weird that there was a group of people, I think it was during the 60s and 70s, and it was like in the consciousness of everyone that there was this weird connection with cows, either being, I don't know if this is like morbid or not, but if you look it up, like they were basically being like drained of all of their blood. So there's not a drop around them. And they had these like surgically precise, like even to this day, they don't have machines that can do that. Surgically precise, like cuts in certain tissues and stuff. And there's like the tongue was removed. There's just all these weird like soft tissues that were removed. And the farmers would be like out in their field tagging their cows, and an hour later come back to a cow that they had just tagged, and this would have happened. They would have found it there, and they're like, there's literally not a drop of blood. There's no footprints. It doesn't look like a struggle, anything. It's just the cow is here and some tissues are missing. And that happens so often that they had to put out newspaper articles to say, we don't really know what's going on. So like everyone just kind of calmed down, but we're not exactly sure. And then it started becoming this, like, we see UFOs flying over the farms. We see like tripod little dents in the ground around the cows, like just weird stuff. But it was still this strange thing that carried over way past that time. And I even asked Caleb, I'm like, do you remember when you first saw an alien being abducted, or a cow being abducted by an alien? Like that image it's in cartoons, it's in movies, it's in this, like you see that a lot. In fact, I found a patch on Amazon that I was going to buy that's like a cow going up. So I'm like, this is a thing that people know. It's like in our consciousness, but nobody quite knows why or where it came from. So it's those kinds of things where it's like human beings kind of
it's like
know.
a meme.
Yes. It's like we know these things, but nobody quite knows exactly why.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So that's what caught my attention.
There's so many of those too.
You mentioned for a moment the circus, and that's actually really, really interesting. There's a great documentary that is, I think it's just called The Circus or something like that, but it's all about Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, like all of the first circuses basically, and how so the circus was the thing that connected the very, very poor people and the very, very rich people. They could all be in one place to see things that they had never seen before, and to see people doing things that pushed the limits of life and death. And that's why it was this exciting thing. People would take off work. They would close down the whole town every time the circus would come in, because they knew they were going to see something that they did not want to miss out on. And it was insane. They would travel with whales. The circus on railroad or just in carriages and stuff. They would pull aquariums with whales in them just because they wanted to show people a whale. If you imagine that today, like the logistics of taking a whale on a journey across the United States is crazy. But the circus was one of those things that brought animals. It brought people that were, I'll put in heavy quotes, freaks, or people that wouldn't have a place in society were now being looked at in this kind of performer, like interesting way. And I think the biggest thing was the circus masters or whatever, bringing things to people that you would have to have traveled outside to go see. And they said that was this wondrous thing that really, really brought people together and kind of sparked a lot of imagination. I mean, that's why kids like wanted to run away with the circus, because it was this like magical world where you forget the woes of life.
Well, it changes perspective.
Yeah.
Gives you a broader look. And it kind of, when you were saying that, I was, thinking the internet has done the same thing. Mm-hmm. Or even just something like the iPhone, that the richest person in the world has the same phone as pretty much the poorest person in the world. They have the same access to information for the most part. There is no like dividing line between those things. Mm-hmm. And it is the place where you go and you have your beliefs challenged, and you have your way of seeing the world challenged, and you can get new pictures and new perspectives, and you can connect with other people that you couldn't have connected with before.
Right.
So it's weird because you think of the circus and you're just like, oh, this thing where they traveled around with.
There's like animals and it's a show.
Yeah.
No, that was
but it was a big deal.
Yeah, because imagine not having any other source of entertainment.
People that had never seen a camel before.
Right. And there was like a whole trove of them like pulling a carriage. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What are these animals? Yeah.
It's crazy.
And they said that people got to touch, like, have you ever touched an elephant before? Or any kind of exotic animal that like is
I've
not
been
a
bitten
dog?
by a few.
That's true.
But I don't know if I've.
Yeah, I wouldn't encounter
touched
an elephant. Then
no.
it might pick you up or something. You don't have good luck with
with
animals.
No, I don't.
I do want to go through the list of animals you've been bit by. Can you think of them real quick? But the idea of being able to touch. So think about the animals that have bit you. Touching an animal that is like exotic. So like a hippopotamus, an elephant, they probably didn't touch the cats and stuff, but imagine,
I wouldn't suggest that.
Imagine being able to touch something, a texture that you've never felt before and you never will again. That's what I think was crazy about the circus, is that they were actually bringing, like even today, they would be bringing something that you would not really have the opportunity to touch, feel, experience, or whatever. And they were doing that way back in the day.
Yeah.
And there was like dueling circuses. Like one was trying to take over a town and the other one's like, well, we're going to come in while you're over in Europe. And it was just circus drama. It's a lot of fun.
Circus drama. It's always a thing.
I recommend watching it just because you have a new appreciation for life at that time. Like the people who lived, and saying this was a really, really crazy time that like everybody looked forward to the circus every year.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if that was the highlight of your life? The circus coming to town?
Oh.
How
maybe.
fun.
Could be. Bring the circus back to town.
I think they're here.
Yeah, we live in a circus town. So. Here in this room? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, right here. Okay. Animals you've been bit by.
Earliest memory would be
when I was a baby.
A cockatoo.
Okay.
When I was in Australia or New Zealand.
And it like bit your finger?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody would pet it. It would stick its head through the thing, and you could pet its head. And it bit me. I was bit by a horse on my back when I was young.
Back.
We were taking a picture next to it, and it
that's how they get you.
took a chunk out of my back.
They're the ones, like bunny ears in a photo.
Mm-hmm.
Horses don't do that. They bite you when the photo takes, so that
it's
they
cute.
get the reaction.
It's a fun thing that they do.
They think it's fun.
Yeah. I got bit by an 8-pound largemouth bass.
What?
that was a weird one.
Can you explain that story?
We vacationed in this on this lake in North Carolina, and you could buy these little like worms, night crawlers, and go out to the dock and you'd hang it over the water. And there was this bass that lived there called Sammy. It was this huge bass.
Name.
And you would hold it over the water, and it would come up, and you drop it in its mouth, and it would it was a thing that you did.
The dropping is
and
the
so they
important
gave
part.
me the worm. And I held it over the water, and it came up and bit my whole hand. Made me bleed.
Can you imagine if
like
it
has
just
those
took
little
you
teeth, and it just scraped up my hand. I cried a lot.
Oh. Was it more scary or was it painful?
It was. I don't remember. I mean, this is like 2 years ago. And then I got bit by king snake in the Everglades at a petting zoo. They were passing it around, and they were like, "It won't bite you. This is one of those things." And I was like, I feel like this is a bad idea. And sure enough, I just got close to it, and it struck me, and I was bleeding.
I'm so sorry. I don't mean to laugh that hard, but I'm just imagining you like, it's going to bite me. And they're like, no, the snake is fine. The snake's just like, I'm going to bite you.
Yeah. There's something else, but I can't remember. Those are the highlights.
You get bit by the cat all the time.
The cat bites me a lot.
Maybe he's making you immune to the terror of getting bit by other animals.
Oh, could be.
He surprises you in the night. Ryan says that he'll sit there. He'll sit there and just be staring at him. And then if he's not biting him or anything, we'll just reach up and just bat his eyes.
Yeah, he bats my eyelids. That's the thing
Like,
that we do
can
now.
you imagine sleeping and being woken up with like a little tap and you
Yes.
wake up and there's just a cat face?
I can imagine that quite well. It's pretty easy to imagine.
I think you have a connection with animals that most people don't have.
And one that I don't want. I'm not a huge animal lover.
It's true.
That's not really my thing.
Well, the animals aren't necessarily loving you. Like, that's not the connection. It's more like they can tell you don't like them. So they're like, you know what? I'm just going to take my chance right now and bite them.
That could be it.
Yeah.
Well, we are officially out of time.
Okay.
It's 9:13.
Do you have anything to say?
Nothing.
He doesn't have anything
Oh.
to
Do
say.
you guys want to hear any of the comments?
There's comments? Yes.
There's a lot of comments.
Sure.
Oh, I love comments.
Finish it up with some comments.
Okay.
Okay, so the
Steven's
alien
like, I'm
video that we
leaving
were
now.
talking about at the beginning.
Yes.
Brett said that came out 2 years ago, and that was when it was first released.
Really?
He's been chiming in with correcting all of our facts this whole
Oh,
time.
good.
So
Thank you, Brett.
Thanks, Brett.
We needed that.
he said 10,000 years it would take for the cities to crumble and be unrecognizable.
Wow.
No, I'm gonna
But
fact
they
check you.
they purposely buried like Göbekli Tepe or whatever, like to maintain it. So they buried it themselves so that it would last longer.
Okay.
Smart.
Smart.
Okay. Yeah.
A bunch of people asking about aliens and if we have any at the church and stuff like that.
Listen, come
Just
out here
one.
at night. Come out here at night, and you may become
You
a
may
believer.
find some.
Yes.
Yeah.
Escape the woods.
Especially
There's going
on
to be
Escape
plenty.
the Woods.
Escape
Yeah.
the woods.
Yeah. Well, Rita, thank you so much for all that you do. You've been a fantastic host for the last 100 episodes.
100-ish.
100-ish. You haven't been the host for
I have to
host
thank
for all of them, but
Susan and Chase. They were guest hosts for a
Yes.
week, a whole week.
Thank you guys for all showing up today. It
Yeah.
makes it really, really great to have some people here. And we will see you guys next week with our final week until we take a break, and then expect amazing things to happen
In
after
November.
Yeah.
November season 2. We're going crazy.
All right.
Even crazier than this.
that. You think so?
Yeah.
All right.
We're going to have a real
Oh.
alien. Oh.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.